for joining us kind of in this ad hoc forum. My name is Teresa. I'm one of the developers on the project at 18F. Thank you for coming to our, I'm going to probably not get this correct, the pronunciation, but Sprint Integrale demo. We have a bunch of stuff to show. I can't tell who's here anymore. I see that Tom dropped. Oh, I see Nicole. Oh my God. Okay. So I will continue then. So yeah, we have a bunch of stuff to show you today that we've been working on over the past couple of weeks. So first up, ATO update. So we are well underway with getting our authority to operate. We completed all the documentation stuff, and we have also done the first round of security testing GSAIT has, and we're currently addressing the findings that came out of their testing. So this is really exciting news. It means we're well underway to getting this thing out and available for people to use. So exciting stuff there. And next up, I will pass it over to Tyke to talk about the administrative interface changes we've made.
I'm Tyke, 18F San Francisco, and I will do a quick demo of first uploading PDFs. We added a document source field to them, and I will just share my screen here.
Just to let folks know, if you click on the little like small screen box, it'll make it bigger for you.
Okay, so I'm going to add a document source PDF to the policy implementation guidance for the 2.2. So from the root, the admin tool, I'll go to policies. This one, there we go. Okay, it's a little slow because there's apparently some penetration testing that I thought was done, but here we go. This is the policy question. File to upload using OG for 2018, and then we'll edit. So we'll I'm pretty sure it is. The first one, uh-oh, nobody can see my screen. My screen shows as sharing in my view. I can see your screen too.
It may just be me, Tyke. You can ignore mine.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll continue. I will designate this as non-public. Say that we'll continue editing. It was previously showing up on the screen, and hopefully once it saves, you can see that now I give up public. If I load this, only one of these should now show up. Okay. And now also none of the requirements from that will show up, and I will see. Right, so this page is the result of a search for the accessibility topics prior to my being that policy, and we can see that that's the wrong one. Okay, sorry, I'm looking for the other one. Demo. I will. Well, demo this. I will get one of its requirements. And if I now search for that requirement, change the ID in to this. I did that wrong. I'm doing the search wrong. My apologies. I'm afraid that you're going to take my word for it that this that the requirements that belong to this policy are also currently non-public. I will that pun, however, and just show that it will show up again. Do that by accessibility here. And we can see that as before I hit it, there are two. Unfortunately, the PDF upload did not work. Track time, sort of more forgiving. And unfortunately, the answer is no. PDF upload worked fine yesterday, the day before yesterday, and 10 minutes before this demo. Not working now, but it will work in Virgin. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and pass back to Teresa.
Thank you very much. So next up, we are going to CM for some public interface updates.
Yeah, and I know the tag was a little bit choppy. In case anyone didn't hear him, the major features that he covered were PDF uploads and making a policy public or not. He was showing at the end there that that applies to the requirements as well. I'm going to try to speak slowly so that if there's any choppiness, you all can continue to hear. So let's share my screen. So I'm going to flip back and forth between the current site, which is what's open right now, and the future site, which is what we're going to deploy today. And that's because a lot of the changes are kind of hard to see, and so you need a comparison. Because the ATO testers are testing on our demo site right now, I'm going to be loading things locally. So if on the current site, the live site, I go to the root, I get this index where I can look further through different ways to categorize requirements. If locally, so this is what will be the state at the end of today, if I go to the root, it redirects me to the requirements page. And this is, eventually we will have a home page so that when you go to just plain old root, you'll get a home page. But for the time being, we're just going to send the user over to requirements. So if you look at the page, you'll see some minor variations. The old page, this is the old page, said OMB policy, whereas the new page says OMB policy library. And that's to make that a little bit more clear. You also probably noticed that the policies selection on the left-hand side in the old version is gone in the new version. I'll explain why in just a moment. You'll notice that the requirement ID was very prominent before, and now we've moved it down into the list down here as we found through user research that it wasn't very important to users. Previously, when we added tags, let's go with my favorite, which is budget, and let's say transparency. The topics would be added in the left-hand side, and they'd be kind of categorized by their header. We've changed that so that the topics are added up here. Let's do this. There we go. Budget. And I can add more to the left-hand side. So let's go with accessibility. So the filters that have been selected are now in the top of the page. And the benefit there is that we can basically add as many filters as we'd like, and we can add more controls on the left-hand side. So it kind of clears up the space on the left while allowing us to fill up the space on the top. You'll also notice that they have a prefix of topic. As we add additional types of filters, they will have additional prefixes. The more interesting component of change this time around is the policies page. So rather than showing requirements categorized by policies, we're actually showing policies themselves. By that I mean each item here, there's 25 per page, is a policy as opposed to being a requirement. If you look at this, you'll see that we have a link to view the original. If you've uploaded a PDF, it will link to that PDF as Tig showed earlier. If you haven't, then this link will be the URI field, which is part of the original data set. If I click through and say view all requirements for, let's go with policy A130, there are 424 requirements. I click view all. I see that I have this filter of that policy, and there are many, many pages, roughly 424 pages worth of requirements. Let me go back. If instead I look at this number, the one that's blue and in a circle, that's the number of requirements that are relevant to my specific search. So down here in A130, 23 of the requirements satisfy being accessibility focused or budget focused. If I click on that number, I can see all 23. And I know at the top that it's got the those two topics that I had selected and the policy. If I switch between tabs, my filters stay the same. If I want to see all of the policies that contain these two topics, I would get rid of that one policy filter. And I think that that's about it in terms of changes to the front end. Let's kick it over to Teresa to introduce Nicole.
We have Nicole who's going to be talking about some of the design and research work we've done.
Hello. Share my screen here. So, this sprint, in addition to me kind of really diving into the project, we had one usability session with a contracting officer who had digital policy expertise. So we tested the prototype that CM was just showing you. We also started to think about who we might want to include in future recruiting efforts, because one of the things that we're finding is, people on our recruiting tracker may or may not actually be available or respond. So we need to have a broader bucket of folks to reach out to for future tests. I'll show you what we learned in that test in just a moment. I also worked on a first draft of the homepage, which we're planning to design and test in the next sprint with Matt and Tom, and show you that in case you haven't seen that. And we started planning, Micah and I are going to do a full design review of the whole application next sprint. So that's kind of where we're at. CM just showed you the policy page, but I just wanted to kind of highlight the different parts of the application that we tested. We had the user walk through the application, starting with the tag of digital services, and funnily enough, her expertise is digital services, so it was a really good kind of just coincidence that she knew a lot about these this space. One of the things that we heard from her over and over is that the requirements right now don't necessarily make sense or mean much without the context of the larger policy. And I grabbed a sample screenshot here of one requirement that says, these efforts should include blah, 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 without knowing what those efforts were. It was a little confusing to her. So in terms of the kind of readout from that one interview, we learned that we should show requirements in the context of the larger policy, and Micah and I have already been thinking about this, so we have some ideas on that. The content, I was just saying, the content of the requirements, the actual excerpt of the text may or may not make sense on its own as a snippet, and those things kind of go hand in hand, but we may also want to look at ways to edit or comment in the margins or something to make a snippet make more sense without the whole body of the text. She found the word requirements confusing because it's traditionally related to software requirements as opposed to policy or legal requirements. I'm not sure if that's something we would want to test, but just something I wanted to flag. And she kept wanting to click on the policy title, whereas right now we have it kind of off to the side. You can't really see it here behind this screenshot, but it says like view all requirements. So it's just something for us to think about when we're doing our design review. The other thing that I mentioned was the homepage exploration. I know y'all have been really busy, and sometimes the fastest way to get started on content is for me to just take a first pass, and then we can talk about it and then test it instead of waiting until we can have a working session. So that's what I decided to do. And after a little back and forth, this is kind of where we ended up. So we're going to have a little introductory paragraph that talks about the project and also in a human, plain language friendly way, kind of says like, these are not the ultimate policies. If you want to see those, you need to click through to the PDFs or the original source links. The second part of the homepage is really just the interactive search, and I'm just showing it here in text. We have previous designs that we've tested, and Micah and I will come up with something. I also thought it would be useful to have, and this is kind of just like if you continue scrolling, a feed of the latest policies that have been added to the site, and introductory information about regulations and other links that relate to the site, so the site isn't just kind of an island in the sea of government websites. And then we don't have a footer right now, so I went ahead and took a shot at what that might look like. And again, this is just text, so I'll work with Micah on coming up with a layout in the next sprint. And with that, I'll pass it back to Teresa.
Thank you very much. So that's all we have to show y'all for today. Our next demo is on the 26th, and we'll have our wonderful Will Sullivan back as host. So, Tom, are you still with us, or did you drop off?
I'm still here.
Awesome. So, do you think that we should call into the conference line as usual to take questions, or do you feel like it'll work to have folks unmute and ask here?
I think probably mute here. We didn't have too many people join us from OFCIO. So if anybody from OFCIO is on the line and thinks otherwise, speak now or forever hold your peace.